Pokemon are tough. They can survive getting set on fire, electrocuted, dropped from the sky, impaled by rocks, and listening to terrible music. And what's more, they even do it for fun.
But can any of them survive a nuclear blast?
This question was inspired by the recent announcement for Pokemon Legends ZA, taking place in the Kalos region.
In the original Kalos games, Team Flare boss Lysandre uses something called the ultimate weapon to either force immortality on, or kill everyone in the building.
Talk about a 180. The ultimate weapon fires a blast of energy that explodes on contact, and since it's also theorized that Megastones were formed from the radiation from this blast, we can make assumptions that it functions somewhat like a nuclear explosion.
So really what we're asking here is, what Pokemon in the Kalos region could potentially survive a blast from this ultimate weapon?
Let's take a look.
Okay, first up, Chespin.
Dead, immediately.
Yeah, his ass is grass. Literally and figuratively.
Quilladin doesn't survive either. If the blast itself doesn't get him, the shockwave does. Man's shaped like a ball.
I think Chestnut's our first survival, though. Like, it has a shield built into its body, and its Pokedex entry says it can put its fists in front of its face to withstand a bomb blast.
With just his fists, is he gonna fight the explosion, Shannon?
Well, has anyone ever tried?
It's just, you're the next Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and just standing up there like, no one thought to punch him, I don't know.
Okay, Fennekin is a fire type, but it's only 390 degrees Fahrenheit inside. How hot is a nuclear blast?
At its center, 100 million degrees.
It's a little warm.
Okay, let's assume all these Pokemon don't get blasted point blank in the face, because then this video will be very short. Let's say they're a mile or two away from the center of the blast.
Apparently the heat waves from a bomb can get up to 4,500 degrees, so let's go with that.
Okay, so Fennekin still gets vaporized. But how hot is Braixen?
How hot is Braixen? Braixen's a 9 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah, there's a very specific community who would like to answer that for us.
Yeah.
No, dead.
Delphox generates a fiery vortex of 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit, so it can dish it, but can it also take it?
According to its Pokedex, it can look into the flame at the tip of its branch to see the future, so it could see the blast coming and then get out of there before it hits.
So you think it would be able to differentiate from the fiery blast coming from its stick and the fiery blast coming from the explosion?
Yeah, you're probably right. Delphox is a maybe.
Froakie, more like Croaky.
Frogadier, more like die.
Good job, Shannon.
But I think Greninja survives. It's a ninja, so like it could just poof away and leave a piece of wood in its place.
Gosh, that's not a piece of wood. That's a Sudowoodo.
You monster!
So Greninja physically survives, but can it live with the guilt of knowing it murdered another innocent Pokemon?
Bunnelby does not stand a chance. But Diggersby can tunnel underground to stay safe.
Yes, Mother Earth will keep you cozy and warm.
Unless there are any Greninja around.
Okay, so with flying Pokemon, do we think they can escape through the air?
I think it depends on how fast they are. Like, Fletchling? Not a chance. Talonflame? Oh yeah. Like, look at those wings. Also, it's a fire type, so it could probably withstand getting caught in the edge of the blast, even if it's not fast enough.
And if it doesn't escape, I bet it cooks up real good.
Yum. You can really taste the rads.
All the bugs are dead. Just go ahead and put every single bug from this gen in the no category.
So Litleo's firepower isn't enough to withstand the heat from an explosion, but once it's a Pyroar, its breath alone is 10,000 degrees, so Pyroar definitely survives.
Yeah, not only does he survive, he thrives. 4,500 degrees is a beautiful day for Pyroar.
He walks outside his house, is like, ah.
Hey there, neighbor, he's just on fire.
Okay, this one's going to be a little controversial, but I think Flabébé survives.
How?
Well, it floats in the wind, right? It gets hit by the shockwave and then blown away before the blast can even reach it.
Yeah, it ends up in Galar. No flower petals or fur left on his body.
That's why Flabébé isn't in the Sword and Shield Pokedex. It's there, we just don't recognize it.
What about Skiddo and Go-Goat?
Go, Goat! Can't you see you're about to be vaporized?
He just thought you were calling his name out, so he turned and he was like, what? And then the blast just...
So, Furfrou doesn't make it, right?
Furfrou actually dies faster than every other Pokemon. The sheer amount of hairspray on that Pokemon ignites before the blast even gets close.
It goes in a special tier. So, Esper has psychic powers that can shield itself, but apparently it doesn't have control over its power, so it might survive.
Yeah, it just depends on luck. Like, you ever eat too much Taco Bell and decide you're still gonna trust a fart?
No, but I'll take your word for it.
It's a shit or miss. I mean, hit or miss.
Okay, but Meowstic survives, because its psychic power is specifically activated to defend itself.
What about the Honedge family? Can ghosts die again? Does the steel type prone to melting negate the ghostliness?
I don't think we're qualified to answer that.
Oh, Shannon, we're not qualified to be doing any of this. We did very little research on this topic before recording.
It's for entertainment purposes, not science. They're all going in maybe, and some sort of bombologist can tell us otherwise in the comments.
Spritzy and Aromateas have no special qualities besides having smells, so I don't see any way for them to survive. Swirlix and Slurpuff also don't have any qualities to protect themselves or let them escape, so bye.
Yeah, I've seen what happens when you put cotton candy in water.
Yeah, imagine adding fire.
Inkay learns Reflect and Light Screen. Do we think that's enough to protect itself from an explosion?
In the games, they just reduce damage, not block it entirely.
Okay, let's simulate this for a second. An Electrode using Explosion on an Inkay with both Reflect and Light Screen does about 40% damage. And if we assume the ultimate weapon is much more powerful than a single Electrode, then
Inkay is dead.
But Malamar has a chance. It has the strongest hypnotic powers of any Pokemon, so it could potentially survive depending on what other Pokemon are around.
Got a Diggersby nearby to get him underground? He's golden. Got a couple of Spritzy and Swirlix nearby? Well, you'll be going underground in a different way.
Okay, Skrelp and Dragalge.
Dragalge.
That makes sense.
Finally, I knew a Pokemon name.
I've never said that one out loud before. Okay, this is like a shrimp, right? What can a shrimp do?
Be delicious? I don't know, man.
Oh wait, shrimps see more colors than us, right?
Yes.
So maybe it sees like some kind of escape route through the explosion.
What, from an alternate reality?
Who are we humans to be so bold to say that we understand what shrimps can do? I think they go in maybe.
Shannon, there's like a whole subset of science to talk about, like arthropods and different kinds of shrimp and stuff.
But surprisingly, no one is investigating shrimp versus explosions. So
yes, you're right.
We're the first.
There's no crossroads between those two different scientists.
We're pioneers.
Helioptile and Heliolisk.
What are you thinking about those?
I've never thought anything about them, Shannon.
I was like, I don't see any way they survive. Like, they're pretty fast, but not fast enough to outrun an explosion.
They're based on the Jesus lizard that can run on water, except they just run on top of the explosion like, help us.
Okay, we'll go with it. We'll say maybe.
It's uncertain.
Yeah, I mean, they are electric type, so maybe that's how it works.
we said earlier, we're not scientists.
Tyrant.
Man, I'm gonna have to go with dead. Not because of the explosion, he died years ago. We just didn't have a chance to bring him back from the fossil.
Tyrantrum's Pokedex entry says it was invincible in the ancient world.
Yeah, well, the ancient world didn't have nuclear firepower, and if it's so invincible, how'd it go extinct in the first place?
Okay, that's fair. But I think the other two Kalos fossil Pokemon survive. The air around Aurora's body is minus 240 degrees, and it can also instantly create barriers of ice to protect itself.
I'm just crunching some numbers here. 4,500 minus 240. Yeah, it comes out to about 0. He's good.
The math doesn't lie.
My math does.
Sylveon is like a dog.
So, Shannon, Sylveon wouldn't survive, except for I left mine with Professor Oak, so it's fine.
Yeah, but what if Professor Oak's lab was the target?
My God, he's not in the Kalos region. They messed up big time.
Well, if they use our math when they calculated
the trajectories.
Okay, Hawlucha.
Just in tight. Oh, he's dead, by the way. Okay, here's another hot take. I think Dedenne might survive.
How?
Well, its Pokedex entry says that it can receive electrical waves to communicate over vast distances. So while the weapon is firing up, it could probably pick up on the electricity and get a head start escaping.
But how would it know where the explosion is going to happen? It might run towards the area of impact.
Well, that's why I said it might survive. Shannon, keep up.
Well, if Dedenne can do it, then I think Carbink definitely survives. It was born from temperatures and pressures of being deep underground, which can get up to thousands of degrees, so a little explosion is nothing.
Yeah, in best case scenario, the radiation transforms it into a Diancie.
This is a win-win for Carbink.
I'm starting to think he might have something to do with this.
Alright, what about the goo?
Goomy, Sligo, and Goodra?
Yeah, the goos.
The goos.
I mean, they can't even go in the sun without drying up.
Yeah.
Just looking at the blast coming down causes them to just evaporate.
Yeah, they die from the light.
A bunch more ghosts, who all survive because they are ghosts.
I don't know, actually. They're spirits possessing physical bodies of trees and pumpkins, which are definitely going to get disintegrated. So what happens when the explosion takes those out?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, since we don't know, let's put them down in maybe.
Bergmite and Avalugg.
I think they melt, right?
Yeah, you know what melts ice, Shannon? fire. You know what has a lot of fire? The ultimate weapon. So Xerneas has the power to share eternal life. Does that mean he's immortal?
Yeah, Xerneas survives because it's immortal. And Yveltal does too, because whenever it dies, it just absorbs the life energy of other living things and becomes a cocoon.
Yeah, one problem there. It just has to hope that the explosion hasn't killed everything else nearby first.
Okay, Zygarde lives in a cave and can dig, so it can definitely just tunnel away to survive.
Yeah, and then it pokes its head back up, pissed over the environment being destroyed.
Oh yeah, Zygarde's definitely getting revenge. I think it's fitting that the final casualty from the ultimate weapon would be the one who activated it in the first place.